Thanks, Chair. Minister, your Rural Development Policy 2021 to 2025 commits to progressing vital infrastructure development for island communities. However, the Dursey Island situation tells a different story. Only after weeks of sustained pressure did the Department commit to providing a public replacement for the cable car's temporary closure. The people of West Cork are rightly worried that this is further indication of the Government's lack of commitment to support our offshore islands. What assurances can you give them?
Thank you, Deputy, for raising this issue. The Government's objective is that sustainable, vibrant communities can continue to live on the country's offshore islands. For this to be achieved, it is essential that investment is made in the maintenance and upgrading of island infrastructure. To this end, I have increased the allocation available for capital works on the islands from €2.64 million in 2021 to €4.64 million for 2022. The additional funding will ensure an expanded works programme this year, which will include the annual programme for minor capital works on the offshore islands, co-funded by the relevant local authorities. So far this year, I have approved works to the value of €2.09 million for non-county roads on Donegal. My department is continuously seeking opportunities to expand our existing schemes to further enhance the infrastructure on the islands, and I was delighted to announce last month that I was introducing a new measure specifically for islands under the CLAR programme. This measure will give island communities and their groups the opportunities to seek up to 90% funding for community vehicles and other community facilities. Additionally, the key island projects set out in Project Ireland 2040 are being progressed this year. These include 3 major harbour projects, namely improvement works to piers on Inisheer and Inishmaan in County Galway and on Maharorty serving Ilon Tory in Donegal. These projects are all at different stages in their development and will continue to be progressed as quickly as possible. Now, Deputy, you referred there about the Dursey cable car. Well, can I just say, Cork County Council closed the Dursey Island cable car for repairs on the 1st of April 2022 for a period of 7 months. The local authority had made no provision for alternative island access for the duration of the maintenance period. And I'll continue, I know I'm over time, I'll continue when I come back in.
Minister, I suppose the issue for people on the islands is that the Government says it plans to progress vital infrastructure development for island communities, and then they feel the reality is different. So in the case of Dursey, instead of an immediate reassurance to the island residents that those who farm there and live there, the council in your department kind of played past the parcel. Your department provided funding for public service because ultimately it was always going to be your department's responsibility in the end. But the community, myself and other public representatives had to fight for that. This isn't an isolated case. Every time questions with your department come up, I, along with Deputy Connolly and others, ask about the forthcoming policy for the islands. Offshore communities are waiting years for that policy. It's ridiculous. And in today's question paper, there are numerous questions about island infrastructure and access. So can you see why island communities are concerned with the mismatch between government plans and then government action when it comes to things like this?
Thank you, Deputy. Well, I just want to be clear here about the Dursey Island cable car. This was a problem of Cork County Council's making. They decided to make an announcement and they gave my department absolutely no prior notice. They just said, we're closing the cable car. That's it. So I was pleased to step in at the last minute last week, and I have to say that I was kept abreast of the situation, and I worked very hard with Deputy Christopher O'Sullivan and Senator Tim Lombard in trying to find a solution. I'm pleased that as I said, I stepped in last week. I provided the funding to Cork County Council. and they're going to procure a ferry service, and they hope to have the outcome of that procurement process in the coming days. But just to be very clear here, I was not found wanting when it came to the islands, Deputy, and I think the Cork County Council have a responsibility when they take away a service from people to come up with an alternative. They did not engage with my department, but when they did, we were able to work with them and we were able to find a solution.
Thanks, Minister, for your reply. And I can't speak for Cork County Council, but I think the last-minute nature of the announcement was unacceptable. And like I said, I can't speak for them, but weeks before the closure happened, I had raised it with your department. I think it's just disappointing for people that you're unwilling to acknowledge the frustrations and worries of the island community. You know, as a group, they're incredibly resilient, but they need government policy backed with concrete measures to support them now. I've continuously pushed, for example, for investment in small piers on our island and coastline, which support local communities, and they're a vital piece of infrastructure that support fishing, recreation, tourism and accessibility. But they're significantly underfunded. So every year Cork County Council and other local authorities get vastly insufficient funds to maintain and develop the piers. Some piers got very welcome funding under the recent Brexit Adjustment Fund, but there's so many more that I could list off in West Cork alone. So I'd also like to know what your plans are to prioritise investment in those small piers, and also to acknowledge that eventually, in relation to the Dursey Island cable car, the funding was put in place, and I am very grateful to you and your department for doing that. The point that I'm trying to highlight is that it took so long, and it was raised with the department earlier, and just to reassure those communities, you know, that's what I'm...
Thanks, Deputy. And I take just to explain the point is, if you take away a service, you have a duty to put in a replacement. They did not engage with us. When they did, we got a solution. And in fairness, I do want to recognise the work of Deputy O'Sullivan and indeed Senator Lombard in the issue, who were very aware of it and worked very hard to find the solutions. Just in terms of what I've been doing for the islands, there has been unprecedented investment in the islands, and in fact I was on Bear Island in the summertime. I actually attended a cabinet meeting remotely from a remote working hub in Bear Island. I also went to visit a glamping facility there that received investment through the LEADER funding. As I said earlier, I have set aside a special allocation under the CLAR programme, so that it's a specific measure for islands, so they can now apply for funding for different projects that are funded under CLAR. They're not competing with the mainland, so that's just another example. I have also embarked upon a number of critical infrastructure projects, and they're going through a process at the minute. And indeed, I'm answering questions later on about the policies on about the islands policy, which we are working on, and also about piers at other island locations. But I've visited a good few of the islands, and I absolutely understand the concerns of the islanders, because I've been out there, I have listened to them, and I saw the video of the concerns of the people on Dursey as well. So, and we did respond whenever approach was made to us.
The concerns of the poor chairperson looking at the clock, whatever about the concerns of the islanders.